Modern fatherhood is deeply tied to questions of identity, as many men today grow up without rigid templates defining what a father should be. Unlike previous generations where emotional distance was often normalized, contemporary fathers are encouraged to be emotionally present, expressive, and nurturing. This shift creates both opportunity and tension, as men navigate between inherited models of masculinity and emerging expectations that value vulnerability and empathy. The psychological process of redefining oneself as a father often involves letting go of outdated norms and actively constructing a more flexible sense of self. For many modern fathers, the transition into parenthood brings an emotional awakening that can be both enriching and overwhelming. Feelings that were previously unfamiliar or suppressed, such as deep tenderness, fear of loss, and existential responsibility, surface with intensity. This emotional expansion can enhance psychological depth, but it may also expose unresolved issues from one's own childhood. Fathers often find themselves reflecting on their relationships with their parents, consciously deciding which patterns to repeat and which to break. The expectation to be emotionally available places modern fathers in a learning process that requires emotional literacy. Many men were not socialized to name or communicate feelings, and fatherhood pushes them to develop these skills in real time. This can lead to moments of frustration and self-doubt, but also to profound growth. Over time, the ability to connect emotionally with a child reshapes how fathers relate within the family and beyond it. Modern fathers frequently experience internal conflict between autonomy and responsibility. The psychological weight of being needed so completely by another human being can challenge one's sense of freedom and individuality. Yet this responsibility often provides a deeper sense of meaning and purpose, forcing an integration between selfhood and long-term commitment. Modern fathers play a central role in shaping their children's emotional and relational development through attachment. Contemporary psychology recognizes fathers as fully capable of forming secure emotional bonds that influence how children perceive safety, trust, and intimacy. These bonds are built through everyday presence rather than isolated moments of authority. Attachment develops through routine involvement such as play, care, listening, and emotional responsiveness. These repeated interactions allow fathers to attune to their children's emotional cues while also increasing their own emotional awareness. Over time, this mutual regulation strengthens relational stability. A father's attachment style is often influenced by his own childhood experiences. Some fathers replicate emotional availability they once received, while others consciously work to heal patterns of neglect or distance. Modern fatherhood provides a powerful opportunity for emotional repair and generational change. Romantic partnerships are also reshaped by fatherhood. Shared caregiving responsibilities require renegotiation of intimacy, communication, and emotional labor. When approached with openness, this transition can deepen bonds and strengthen relational trust. Fathers often act as emotional bridges between children and the outside world. Through encouragement of exploration and autonomy, they support resilience and confidence. This balance between protection and independence becomes a defining feature of the father-child relationship. Modern fathers exist within a dense network of social, economic, and cultural pressures that significantly shape their mental health. While emotional involvement in parenting is increasingly encouraged, the structural conditions needed to support this involvement often remain underdeveloped. Many fathers are expected to be fully present at home while maintaining high levels of productivity and availability at work. This contradiction creates persistent psychological tension, as fathers struggle to meet competing expectations without adequate institutional support. Workplace culture plays a central role in paternal mental health. Long working hours, limited parental leave, and subtle penalties for prioritizing family can generate chronic stress and emotional exhaustion. Fathers may internalize the belief that choosing family over work signals weakness or lack of ambition. Over time, this internal conflict can erode self-esteem and contribute to anxiety, irritability, and emotional withdrawal, even when fathers deeply value their caregiving role. Mental health challenges among fathers are frequently under-recognized and underdiagnosed. Depression and anxiety can emerge during early parenthood, particularly in response to sleep deprivation, identity shifts, and increased responsibility. However, many fathers hesitate to seek professional help due to enduring cultural norms that equate masculinity with emotional control and self-reliance. This reluctance often leads to silent suffering, where distress is managed through avoidance rather than expression. Economic pressure remains a dominant psychological burden for modern fathers. Despite changing family dynamics, the expectation to provide financial stability continues to be closely tied to masculine identity. Job insecurity, debt, or economic instability can intensify feelings of inadequacy and fear of failure. These pressures may coexist with a desire to be emotionally present, creating a sense that one is always falling short in at least one domain of life. Social comparison has become an increasingly powerful force in shaping paternal self-perception. Through social media and popular culture, fathers are exposed to idealized representations of balanced, emotionally available, and professionally successful men. These curated images rarely reflect the complexity and struggle of real-life fatherhood. Comparing one's private exhaustion to public perfection can fuel guilt, shame, and unrealistic self-expectations. Sleep deprivation, especially in the early years of parenting, has a profound impact on emotional regulation and cognitive functioning. Chronic fatigue can amplify stress responses, reduce patience, and impair communication within relationships. Fathers may misinterpret these symptoms as personal failure rather than physiological strain. Recognizing the biological dimensions of mental health allows for greater self-compassion and healthier coping strategies. Cultural context strongly influences how fathers experience and interpret mental health challenges. In some societies, involved fatherhood is supported and normalized, while in others it may still be viewed as secondary or optional. Fathers navigating unsupportive cultural environments often face additional psychological strain, as they must justify their parenting choices while managing internal and external judgment. Access to mental health resources specifically designed for fathers remains limited. Many parenting and psychological support systems are still oriented primarily toward mothers, leaving fathers feeling invisible or peripheral. When fathers do not see their experiences reflected in support services, they are less likely to engage with them. Inclusive mental health frameworks that acknowledge paternal experiences are essential for long-term emotional resilience. Despite these challenges, modern fathers are gradually redefining what strength means. Increasingly, strength is understood not as emotional suppression but as emotional awareness, honesty, and responsibility. Fathers who model vulnerability teach their children that emotions are manageable rather than dangerous. This shift contributes to healthier family dynamics and intergenerational emotional literacy. Ultimately, the psychology of modern fathers reflects a broader societal transition. As traditional models of masculinity lose dominance, fathers are asked to integrate emotional presence, economic responsibility, and relational depth simultaneously. Those who receive adequate support often emerge with greater emotional intelligence, deeper self-knowledge, and a stronger sense of purpose. In this way, modern fatherhood becomes not only a personal journey but a transformative psychological and cultural force. Modern fathers are increasingly shaped by the intersection of technology, digital culture, and parenting. Unlike previous generations, today's fathers raise children in an environment saturated with screens, constant connectivity, and rapid information flow. This context introduces new psychological challenges, as fathers must navigate not only their children's relationship with technology but also their own. The pressure to be informed, available, and responsive at all times can blur boundaries between work, family, and personal life. Digital culture reshapes how fathers perceive competence and involvement. Parenting advice is instantly accessible through social media, forums, and online experts, which can be both supportive and overwhelming. Fathers may feel empowered by access to information, yet simultaneously burdened by conflicting opinions and unrealistic standards. The abundance of guidance can undermine intuitive parenting, leading fathers to question their decisions and doubt their instincts. Technology also influences how fathers connect emotionally with their children. While digital tools can facilitate communication and shared activities, excessive screen use may interfere with presence and attunement. Fathers may struggle with guilt when work-related devices intrude into family time. Psychologically, this tension highlights the challenge of maintaining emotional availability in a world that constantly demands attention elsewhere. The role of fathers as digital role models has become increasingly significant. Children observe how fathers manage screen time, online behavior, and emotional responses to digital stress. Fathers who demonstrate balance, intentionality, and self-regulation provide implicit lessons about healthy technology use. Conversely, constant distraction can weaken emotional bonds and reduce opportunities for meaningful interaction. Modern fathers must also confront new forms of anxiety related to their children's safety and development in digital spaces. Concerns about cyberbullying, exposure to harmful content, and online identity formation introduce psychological vigilance that previous generations did not face. Managing these fears requires emotional regulation, trust building, and open communication rather than control or surveillance alone. Technology has also altered social comparison in fatherhood. Fathers are no longer comparing themselves only to neighbors or co-workers, but to global representations of parenting success. This expanded comparison field intensifies pressure and self-criticism. Learning to disengage from constant evaluation becomes a crucial psychological skill for modern fathers. At the same time, digital communities can offer meaningful support. Online spaces allow fathers to share experiences, express vulnerability, and find validation that may be unavailable in their offline environments. For many men, these platforms provide the first opportunity to articulate emotional struggles related to fatherhood. When used intentionally, such spaces can reduce isolation and normalize emotional complexity. Work-life boundaries are further complicated by remote work and digital availability. While flexibility can increase time with children, it can also eliminate clear separations between professional and family roles. Fathers may feel perpetually on, struggling to fully inhabit either role. Establishing psychological boundaries becomes essential for mental health and relational stability. The digital era also accelerates the pace of life, affecting how fathers experience time with their children. Awareness of how quickly childhood passes can heighten both gratitude and anxiety. Fathers may feel pressure to maximize every moment, turning presence into performance. Letting go of perfection allows for more authentic connection. Ultimately, the psychology of modern fathers in a digital world centers on intentionality. Fathers are challenged to choose presence over distraction, depth over speed, and connection over constant productivity. Those who develop mindful relationships with technology often report stronger emotional bonds, greater self-awareness, and a more grounded experience of fatherhood. In this sense, navigating the digital landscape becomes an essential psychological task of modern parenting.